so for everybody that's like new, that I'm guessing like most people that are watching this video already knows who you are, but for the people that don't,
Uh,
just want to go over like a quick summary of like who you are and like what you do on your channel.
Um, it's a big story. I'm working on that right now in my bio for my website. I'm getting a writer because I've done so much in the last 20 and mostly the last 10 years. I'm right here where I grew up actually. This is Montreal Park Extension where I grew up. I started martial arts from a young kid, being picked and bullied on in these streets. I had to learn how to defend myself and learn how to, fight and, took a couple of beatings. I lost some. And then I started with, taking Kung Fu and then Taekwondo and then just other martial arts, then reality-based self-defense, boxing, kickboxing. I trained at Académie Sportive, Knockout Gym. I did Krav Maga. I got certified in Krav Maga. And but a lot of my experience came from working in nightclubs. When I started working in clubs, I started realizing, well, what really works in theory, what works in practice, what is it that we train that makes sense, and what do we train that we're never going to use, and how do I simplify it? How do I bring it down to a point that it's kind of like you learn the entire manual in a few months, and then it's just about training the shit out of it
Yeah.
over and over again. That's all it is. It's not about learning more. I tell people learn less and train more. You don't need to always add something new to your toolbox. Like learn how to use your toolbox
Mm.
properly, So that's what I've been doing. Then I opened my business 10 years ago. I started my YouTube channels. I opened my own personal training studio. I became a strength training coach, and then the rest is history after that, man. So it's been a really good, amazing 10 year ride. It started 10 years ago, but I've gotten to a point where I'm very grateful and I'm loving what I'm doing.
Yeah. So you said you've the three first martial arts you did were Krav Maga, Taekwondo, and
No, these are just a few that I've done. I studied like the Salam Hungard,
mhm.
traditional martial arts. That's what I started with. I was there for a good, 3, 4 years, maybe. I can't even remember. I was like 9 years old, but this is what I started with. You know what I mean? The traditional stuff, which was cool. And then I went and I did some Taekwondo. I never became. It's funny because I did this in another podcast, and I'm always honest about. Like a lot of people bullshit about their credentials. I know that, and I'm always honest. I've never pursued a black belt. I pursued
Mhm.
just learning, and I took what I learned and I said, okay, I picked up what each system had to teach me, and then I just moved on to something else.
Yeah.
But even with all that, had I not, like I mean, I did the boxing. You know what I mean? It's important to have a good base, not a
Mm.
box. I did the
Yeah.
Thai boxing. I did the jiu-jitsu for 2 years. Now I train privately with an MMA coach, a pro fighter, for the last about 5 years. So I'm still staying up to par with my training as best as I
Yeah.
can. But and then I incorporate all my self-defense stuff in there.
Mhm. So, you said you did jujitsu for 2 years. Is that so? You got was that like right when you got your blue belt, or were you like?
No, I didn't even like go for belts. I was just I'm it's funny. I've never been the type of person to care about titles.
Mm, yeah.
I don't care about titles, belts. It's irrelevant to me.
Mm,
Maybe because sometimes I think I look at it like in school. I'm a high school dropout. I left school when I was 16. I never went to school. I never took a business class, yet I learned how to about business. I
mm-hmm.
never, I didn't have a father that was present, yet I learned how to become a good father. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't care about. Like I'm more of a hands-on person, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where my source of inspiration and training comes. So I was never so much, oh, what belt am I going to get? And again, I just trained. I didn't really care as long as I learned. So it's been 10 years. I train mostly privately. I do mostly privates because I find uh, it's always worked for me that way, especially
Mm-hmm.
now in the last 5 years, I've been more busy. So I can't even tell you what belt, I am because I
Mm-hmm.
never really cared. I just cared about rolling and learning
Yeah.
what works, what doesn't work. And mostly every time, even when I did uh, jujitsu, I always wanted to see, okay, how can I work it in the street? How would this work in the
Yeah.
street? Let's add a
Absolutely. Yeah.
knife. So I was more concerned with that than, the belt, the
And
trophy, or the title.
competition, all
So,
that. Yeah.
and the competition,
Yeah.
I don't, man, I don't care about that. I
Yeah. No,
really
I
don't.
feel that. Yeah. That's actually exactly why I started jiu-jitsu as well. I used to go to UFC gym at first, and I kind of had a free membership when I was there because I used to work there. So, then I was like, I saw the jiu-jitsu guys there. They weren't like the best instructors, but they knew jiu-jitsu, so they were like at least teaching
Yeah.
something. And but then I was like, oh, these guys are really good. Like I thought my wrestling background like would save me, and I was getting destroyed. I was getting smashed by like guys half my size. So I was like, oh, I
Okay.
gotta learn this, and I started. I've not like super into it. I've only been going for a couple of months, but I do want to like. The reason I like the belt system is just to like, especially in jiu-jitsu, like in some places they'll just like give you belts just to like give you belts, but in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu you like have to earn it. So like when you're like at this like level, you're like you've earned that.
Well, there's a thing I do respect about, and I love jujitsu, by
Yeah.
the way. And what I do like about the jujitsu system, their their belt system is more, it's better structured.
Mm.
You know what I mean? What I mean, like I said, I did the kung fu for years, and I can't remember what belt I got to because it was irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
But I remember getting the belts. But in some martial arts, it's also a business. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So,
Absolutely.
and I don't like the mindset that belts create. Oh, he's a black belt, so he could definitely beat me because I'm a yellow belt. Doesn't mean fuck all in the street. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Anybody could beat anybody any day. And even in terms of, when you're training or sparring, you're already putting him up here and you're putting yourself down there, and you've already lost the fight if you think he's better because he has more, like he has a black belt and you're a yellow belt and you
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
you'll never take him. You've already lost the fight, and
Yeah.
maybe you could take
There's
him,
so
but
many
because of that
factors. Yeah.
belt system and the mindset that comes with it, you might lose the fight before it even starts, or the competition, or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it. So I don't know, man. It's never been the thing for me, especially when you're teaching self-defense in the street. You know what I mean? People tell me, "Do you have a belt?" No, man. I just teach. I teach, and I have my own system,
Mhm.
but there's no belt. But there is a structure when I train somebody. I
Yeah.
don't, I don't start him with okay, I'm going to teach, we're going to look at multiple attackers. Mind you, I will start him with understanding awareness, positioning, angles, how to talk if you're faced with multiple attackers
Mm.
without striking, because let's be honest, you don't want to take
Yeah.
5 years to learn how to defend against a knife. You walk into my gym in a matter of a month, you're already learning some basic knife defense because I'm like, you might get attacked tomorrow. I'm not going to wait 5 years to teach you how to defend against a knife.
Yeah.
So that's really my take on that.
Mm. And that, yeah, I agree 100%. Um, I did have a question regarding, you said you worked at a nightclub, right? And that's like where you were
Yeah,
able to like, okay. So
yeah,
I know a lot of people, I know like definitely like boxing and all that is very important just to like have as a base,
yeah.
but a lot of people that don't know like anything about martial arts or like self-defense in general, people will think Krav Maga is like the best thing to go to. So what's your like experience with like Krav Maga and working at like a nightclub?
Um, and what?
And like working at the nightclub, like have you ever like has it
Well,
ever worked for you or like because I feel like it's more like to like disorientate and kill than like
yeah, but you see, okay, so here's my take on Krav Maga, and there's good Krav Maga and
mm,
there's bad Krav Maga. There's good instructors or bad instructors. It really depends on who's teaching it, how they're teaching it, what level do they want to take it. This is from my experience. Um, in terms of, I don't even call my system Krav Maga because I've trained with Krav Maga trainers who are like, this is not Krav Maga, and
mm-hmm,
others are like, oh, this looks a little bit like Krav Maga. People always tell me just call it self defense in
mm,
terms of what I teach. What I did learn working from the clubs is you got to keep the shit simple. You got to keep it simple. You got to keep it effective. And the most important part of the fight that nobody's teaching is, everything that happens prior to the first punch or strike. Those 30 seconds or 20 seconds when the guy walks up to you, he's talking, he's positioning, he's moving, he's reaching for a weapon. This is the part that most self-defense and martial arts neglect, and that's what I focus on the most. And working on the clubs, I realized that really quickly there's a lot of shit that I was taught, there's a lot of shit that I learned that never worked and I couldn't use.
mm,
And I always brought it back. There was always a few certain elements that worked, and then I started creating
Yeah.
my system or what works for me based on that, based on what worked for me. So somebody might be, oh well, I could do a back spinning back kick. Great, that might work for you. It won't work for me. It's never worked for me. I'm not, something very interesting I'm going to tell the people who are listening when it comes to self defense. Because I get, being on YouTube, I get a lot of stupid questions. Oh, what about if you're faced with five guys and they each have two knives and a gun? What are you going to do then? And my question to people who watch this video and training self defense, always ask yourself, is it possible or is it probable?
Mm.
Right? Is it possible I'm faced with five guys, each holding two knives with a gun? Yeah, it's possible. Is it probable? No. So what are you training for? So when you take that, you start saying, okay, what are the most common, most basic, most realistic scenarios that are possible, and start training based on those.
Mm. Yeah, that's very true, and that's the thing with like again back to jujitsu. A lot of people say, they say Krav Maga is really good, and a lot of people will say jujitsu is really good for self defense. But that's just factoring in if there's only one person, you can get stomped out. Like anybody could come in, and
Anybody,
that's
man.
the scary
And
part.
I made a video and people bash me on this and they're like, oh, you say no, I love jiu-jitsu. It's some great elements.
Yeah,
And then the common thing I get, well, so you're telling me your system, you could take on two, three guys. That's not what I'm telling you. But I'm telling you what I'm going to teach you. You probably have better odds than you trying to take a 3-on-1, one guy in the ground and try to
yeah,
choke him out where you're
exactly.
getting
Yeah,
kicked in the head. Where I'm going to teach you to keep the fight up, throw a strike and get the fuck out, or teach you how to position your preemptive strike, or teach you how to maximize your offense or defensive angles. So just that's but again, it's hard to explain that to people because some people are so stuck to what they're
mm.
learning and what they're practicing that they don't want to give up on that belief
Yeah.
under any circumstance.
That's exactly how UFC started too. All these people are coming with their own separate martial arts and they're just putting them one on one. But then it's so different in the street fight. Like there's so many different factors.
So many different factors, multiple attackers,
Yeah,
weapons,
exactly.
your environment. Are you fighting in an elevator, a staircase, a car? Where are you being attacked? It changes the complete dynamic of the fight. People don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I do this, when I do like pressure testing, when I go out and I pressure test real fights and real scenarios, you're never going to fight the same fight twice. It's
Mm.
never going to look the same way. It's never going to, your attacker is not going to react the same way. And this is another thing. Anytime you look at a martial arts or self-defense system that has more than 2 or 3 sequences, it's fake because it's impossible that your attacker will allow you to grab the wrist, flip him over, take him down, lock the arm, choke him.
Mm.
No, you're going to get maybe a 2 or 4 second leeway because you're going preemptive. After that, it's anybody's fight.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. That's crazy too. There's like I don't know if you like follow the whole Gracie thing. Like they'll like only really post fights that happen, like any jujitsu fights where the jujitsu guy always wins. They never post like where like the other factors come into play. Like I love learning
No,
from
but
them, but it's crazy like how
you know what? Just do a scenario. Just do a
yeah.
scenario. And it's crazy because I know guys who do jujitsu, you know what I mean? And they told me they'll never do it. Ask any doorman or security who's worked in a club
Hmm.
what he thinks. They're going to tell you, yeah, it's great, but they're like, I won't try it. I won't try
Mm.
to take the guy down. Unless you're one-on-one and, nobody's getting involved and there's no weapons, yeah, that might work. But that's if, like, do you have some guarantee that nobody's going to jump in and kick you in the head? No, you don't. So
Yeah.
that's the reality. And that's really the difference. I mean, again, it's a great sport. I love it. There's great skills that you're going to get from it. Like many martial arts, they each have a good component, but there's always something lacking from one or the other, and the idea is to put something together. And I'm not only talking about Krav Maga. There is other
Mm.
self-defense instructors that I like and I follow and I respect who have put it together in their own way. Some teach it a little bit more different than others, but overall there's a good base. And again, I look at self-defense videos, the more simple it looks, the more I'm like, oh, okay, I like this.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's like all these crazy techniques now where it's just like it takes like weeks to learn. Like Taekwondo, they got the
Oh,
Bowie kick, the 540 kicks, stuff like that. It's just crazy.
I mean, I mean, and you know what? Like, I mean, I worked in the clubs for what, 7, 8 years in
Mm.
nightclubs. I never threw a kick,
Yeah.
man.
Oh,
I never
yeah,
threw a freaking
yeah.
kick, never once. You know what I mean? It
Bruce Lee
happens too
too. Yeah.
fast. It's a lot of elbows, palm strikes, knees, headbutts. I've always, I didn't, I, that's why I only train a few strikes, but I train them over and
Mm.
over and over again. It's not about learning more. It's about learning less, training more, and then training them in different scenarios. If you're going to do scenario training, if you're going to do it with different drills to develop the speed, the timing, the footwork, the agility, the explosive power. So again, even when we're talking about self-defense, conditioning is a big part of it as well.
Mm. Yeah. And it also depends on like the person that's learning the self or learning the martial arts body structure too, because some people like if you're a smaller person, your fighting style is going to be completely different than somebody who's like
I,
7 foot tall.
it's very interesting because I say this now. Create a system within your system.
Mm.
Create a system that works for you. Somebody told me, what if I'm very short? Well, if you're very short, then you definitely don't want to square off with the guy. You don't want to create that. I mean, you don't want, if you're small, you got to use the element of surprise to your favor,
Mm. Yeah.
right? If the guy's, 5'11" like me and you're 5'2", I have a reach advantage, I have a height advantage. Do you want to spar and try to like break my range, or do you want to try to draw me in through verbal, through psychology, through
Mm.
like, you know, finding that way to draw me in verbally, psychologically, and then fucking just, go and throw that preemptive strike.
Yeah.
Again, what are your better chances of survival? You trying to duke it out with me, or you sucker punching that first strike into the throat, or maybe going into the eyes, or maybe. And again, it all depends on you know your level of threat that you're in that moment, and there's what you need to do to survive. And it's simple as that.
Yeah. So what would you like recommend if somebody was like completely new and they wanted just to like have some sort of like not be screwed basically in like a self-defense situation? Like what would you tell them is like the best option to like go through?
Well, again, the first thing I do, and I teach this in my program and my website, I teach them about awareness,
Hmm.
like what they could do to be aware. Walking down the street, how can you make yourself a really hard target? There's drills and exercises that you could do to heighten and train your radar, that I'm here. I'm able to see everything that's going on around. If somebody were to try to get close, I'd be able to either, intercept him before he break his range, before he gets too close, use an improvised weapon, use a static improvised weapon. Then when you're face to face, awareness. And then when you got to go, and you got to strike, you got to go preemptive, keep it simple. Palm strikes, hammer fist, elbows,
Mm.
knees, headbutts, your big strikes. Boom. Keep it simple, straight into the head. Hit him hard, hit him fast, and get out. Simple as that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and just like learning, like literally, like if you go to like a quick, like week class or something, like most people haven't even done that. So just like having like a super small understanding of training versus somebody who has no understanding, I feel like that's just like a little bit
Yeah,
more
like
of
I
an
mean, I do
advantage.
seminars, and a lot of the times on my seminars, I just focus on awareness. I'll focus half on awareness and half on how to set up the first strike.
Mm.
And people don't know. A lot of people don't know. We talk about being aware, and I did my instructor course, and I had Jim Cloutier from Revolution World Rule Self Defense, and he goes, it's amazing that a lot of people talk about awareness, but you actually have drills and exercises that I've never seen or heard
Yeah.
that you're teaching. You're actually teaching people how to be aware, how to learn to turn on the radar, from code yellow to green to red, like green, yellow, red, boom. Like right now I'm in code yellow, I'm talking to you, but I'm kind of aware. You know what I mean? But if I was walking here at 10 o'clock at night, I'd be in code red. Somebody comes close to me, I'm ready
Yeah.
I'm ahead of the fight. It becomes harder for me to get ambushed. I'm also more proactive. I'm ready to set up that first strike. I'm always ahead, a step ahead of my attacker.
How do you normally like drill awareness then? Like what's like a drill somebody could do?
A great drill is like so one of the drills that you could do is, as you're walking down the street, every sound you hear or every noise you hear, locate it.
Mm.
So, I mean, where's it coming from? Dog barking, door slamming, somebody's walking behind me. And do that for 10 minutes a day. where you're just training to hear and locate and give it a name of where it's coming from. Do that 10 minutes every day.
Mm.
And then you're going to see with time, it's going to happen naturally that as you're walking, you're starting to program, and you're working on your wiring and building that radar and your intuition as well, to be able to pick up everything that's going on around you. So that's just one drill, but I have other drills as well. But
Yeah.
that's a very basic good drill that you could do.
It's a good drill, and I feel like just like doing that like 10 minutes, you're gonna start to like just
Yeah.
subconsciously like start like.
Or like, I mean, I was in the restaurant, I was eating. I might as well tell you another drill that I do as
Mhm.
well. So I'm in the restaurant, I'm sitting down, I look at the restaurant, I close my eyes, and then I have to say, okay, what is the waitress wearing? Where's the waiter?
Mm.
Where's the exit? What do I have in front of me? What can I use as an improvised weapon? Just start. How far is the door? And just start analyzing everything that's around you,
Yeah.
so you could start developing it naturally, where you're not actually thinking of it or doing it. It's happening on its own.
Yeah, that's it's something like I think I did it like not even knowingly at that point. Like me and my friends just kind
Yeah,
of like noticed like random things about random people, and we'll just like start talking about it. And it's gotten to the point now where we just like realize like things nobody else
yeah,
sees. So,
absolutely, man.
so I had one more question. This was like not about martial arts. It was is more like martial arts business type question. Is there like
Yeah.
any advice you would give to like a channel like mine or my channel in general, or is there anything you see that I could improve?
Um, Stay consistent with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably the mistake I did as well, um, and I learned from it. My Nick Drossel's channel, I tried to get into the fitness and I spread out, but when you spread out in too many places, you actually lose your niche.
Mm.
So I have Code Red Defense, which is my second YouTube channel, which is doing very well. So I created Code Red Defense, and that one is nothing but self defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still teaching self defense and only on that channel. And now Nick Drossos, because I got into the motivational and the fitness, and now went back to self defense, I'm kind of keeping that channel as a mix of health and wellness, self defense, fitness, coaching, and whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I would tell you, stick to a niche more or less, be consistent with your videos,
Mm-hmm.
engage with your viewers. Because I kind of neglected that for a while. I
Mm-hmm.
stopped answering. Now I answer 90% of the comments, and I take the time to do so.
Okay.
You're interviewing me, but have other people interview you as well.
Mm-hmm. How do you
Uh,
recommend I have that happen? Just like smaller channels and like just message
Get
them.
smaller channels,
Mm-hmm.
man. Like, I mean, you never know, right? Like, a great story is this. I had 350,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Rosa from the Anabolic Aliens had 150. We had the same manager in LA, and they asked me if I wanted to collab with him. And I said, yeah, sure. He goes, yeah, but he only has 150,000 subscribers. I'm like, I don't care. I checked out their channel. They're nice guys. They look cool. And his channel's at 600,000
Oh, that's
subscribers. He
awesome.
doubled
Yeah,
me.
that's
And
awesome.
now he's passing the ball back to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We built a friendship, a relationship. He comes from Boston to Montreal. He hangs out with me. We film videos. So you build bridges that way. So, even me, obviously, I have a bigger channel than you, but I don't say no to people. I'm more than
Yeah, I
happy to come on
appreciate
your
that.
show
Yeah,
and talk to you and get to know what you're about as well. And again, help you. If I can help your channel grow in any way, for sure, I'll be more than happy to do so.
I appreciate that. So, just stay more consistent and just stick to my niche, right? That's like
Stick to
general
your niche,
advice.
man.
Okay.
Stick to your niche, and uh, stick to you. You know what I mean? Because I watched your videos. Show you who
Mm.
you are. I want to know who you are. Because at the end, you're part of all of it.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
makes
So
sense.
even like when I teach, it's great, but I'm also an entertainer. I have to teach. You know what I mean? So that's important to me, and that's something that I learned
Hmm.
to put my face out there more and more. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
that makes
and that's it,
sense.
man.
Some more personality. Okay. Do you wanna?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. What were you saying?
No, 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 nothing,
Oh,
man.
okay. Do you want to like plug in all of your social medias and your website and
Yeah, for
everything?
sure. The best thing, if people want to see me, the best thing is to go check out my nickjosos.com website. I have my hero program, which is 48 lessons. My membership site should be up in 2 weeks. I have access to my seminars that I've done. I have my instructor course. I do one-on-one coaching online as well. So all that is on my website, nickjosos.com, and they'll find everything else from there.
And the YouTube channel and everything. Okay, perfect.
And the YouTube channel, yeah, everything's there.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll have it all linked down below as well for you guys if you guys
Cool,
still want
man.
to like type it up. But I really appreciate you taking your time, Nick.
Mark, man, thank you so much for having me on, man.
All
It's a
right.
pleasure, and keep doing what you're doing. Stay on track. Go out, reach out to, you know, I probably my last advice I'll tell you that I only started learning and doing is go out there and get collabs, collaborate with
Mm,
people. If you get lucky and you get somebody big, great. If you don't, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Start with guys smaller than you. Start with channels that are a little bit bigger, but put yourself out there. Start building your network of people around you, because I think anybody starting a channel or wants to do a channel, I think that's really important. And it's again, it's a community that we're in. We're all here to help each other. As long as I tell people in the martial arts self defense, as long as it's done with respect, I don't bash instructors. I don't bash systems. I don't need to say he's shit so I can sound better.
mm,
All I know, this is what I teach. This is what makes me good at what I do. I don't need to put others down to make myself sound better. And I've seen other martial artists or self defense guys that do that, and I think that's low class of
mm,
them. And I think it just shows that to me, I want to be the best at what I do because I'm good, not because I'm putting other people down to make myself sound better. So I think within the community, we all need to come together, put our egos aside, and work together to actually find some type of truth when it comes to self-defense and respect each other's opinions in styles. We might not agree with them, we might not think it's for us, but still respect them.
mm. That's yeah. What did you like when you said collab with other channels? Did you like what would you recommend? Like in person collabs or something kind of like this, or what did?
It could be like this, it could be in person, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Whatever you can get, start with people in your neighborhood, people that you know who have like people that you could actually physically get to
mm,
would be cool. And if not, you could do something like this, you know what I mean?
okay.
So I think that because again, it's not it's a lot of work opening a YouTube channel. You know
Mm,
what I mean?
yeah.
It's a lot of work, and it's consistency. It's hard work. It takes passion. You can't do it because of the money, because it's not about the money. But it's I look at it for me. It's what brought me to where I am today. I owe a lot to YouTube and social media for getting me to where I am at this point, and I'm really grateful for it, man.
I'm grateful for you coming on this call. I really appreciate it, Nick.
My pleasure, Mark, man.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
All right, bro.